Hello folks, I know it's been a while. I did film a couple times, but didn't satisfy me as to the garden, and it had rained for almost 2 months, almost every day. We had 5 days in June that didn't rain, and many of those days that did rain it had equaled to more than several inches of rain. So everything in the garden was pretty much unable to get into, and the plums, they really did a good set, but they had too much water uptake, and well, the sugars weren't concentrated enough for them to keep. Now right in there, I don't know if we can see it or not, but it should be the almond tree there, and you can see it's a relative of the peach, and there you can see the pits are like peach pits, and that is loaded, so we're hoping to get almonds. The grapes, the young gentleman that's a neighbor, he was over last night and he got some as you can see, squash. The squash really is doing well now that we have a dry spell. The eggplants are looking nice, not setting real well. My bees are not as abundant as they have been in the past, even with the African blue basil. I don't know if you can see that there, but there's a bee on there, or a couple bees on that. But the butterfly bush is there, and I started some of them, and hopefully can attract some of the pollinators. Of course, I have loads of the self-sowed fennel dill, and that is quite aromatic. It smells good when you get into that. Been harvesting a lot of tomatoes. It needs some work, but plum tree there is growing nicely. I don't know if that shows up there, but I don't know how to do the editing to put an arrow there, but there's right along that one stake is a plum tree that was started this spring, and of course there's another plum tree right there, that was started, and the honeyberries, African blue basil, that's the bees do like that. Then there's a friend at work gave me this purple basil, and it is very attractive. It's got kind of a rough leaf, and she says it'll sow itself. So I'm hoping that it'll go to seed and it'll come back on its own. Well, I'll pause this and go down to the other end of the garden. I didn't get to the other end of the garden. I figured while I'm up at this end I would do the greenhouse. Of course, you can see that the tomatoes are, some of them have reached the ceiling, others had reached the ceiling and then slid down, and I need to get the ladder and get them tied up. But you can see I should be able to see tomatoes down there. I just picked a bunch to give to a friend that stopped by this afternoon. I had a bag of squash and tomatoes. The peppers, those of you that like Thai chilies, there you can see, my wife, she just eats these, and she likes those. There's a great starting that I have gone. Here's some more Thai chilies. This one's a slightly bigger thing. Here we have there's a pickle stock going on down there, and we had here's the yard-long beans. Picked a bunch of them for breakfast this morning, and I took a cherry tomato out of here, 2 of them, to take to work for my boss. He likes cherry tomatoes, and now down in there, let's see if I can't get the color to show up, or can I? Yep, there we go. Buddha and over here we have, on this side over here, habaneros. Of course, I got three large lemongrass plants going on, one there, and down there. Of course, there you can see some more tomatoes going on. Picked a bunch of those, and there you can see that one's broken down. The weight, the stem is down. I'll have to get them tied up. And then the Chinese 5-color here, basil. I've been real happy with the greenhouse this year. Actually, we get enough to eat out of the greenhouse that I wouldn't have to plant much outside of things like peppers and tomatoes. Things like the corn, which didn't do real well this year. You can't grow in the greenhouse, it's too small. Okay, we'll go down the lower end and take a look at where the corn came off and what we planted in there. Standing down here at the lower end of the, we'll call that in-between part, the weed patch, because of all the weeds that got ahead of me during that rainy 2 months. It is time for those of you that live in places like Pennsylvania, New Jersey, in this area, or latitude, or whatever you want to call it, between now and when you have a freeze, or to get your turnips planted. Here in central Pennsylvania, my father and mother used to say, you want to have them in by the 15th of August. And the old timers would try to have their potatoes taken out and plant the turnips in, and then they would have 2 root crops, a carbohydrate and a vegetable that they could, when it sprouted out, they could eat turnip greens. The greens would sprout out, and they're really good. They're kind of yellowish because they're bleached, because they don't get sunshine, and they store well in a root cellar. The persimmon tree is looking really nice there. That one is doing very well. But we have, I think, 5 rows. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 rows, I believe, of string beans. For late string beans, if you get at about the same time you plant your turnips, you want to try getting them in about the end of July for here to make it. You get 1 picking before frost, and it'll be they're good. I just pull the stalks and pick them all. And then the lower part is turnips. I'm going to try getting some more in if I can get some groundwork, but that all depends on the heat, because it does take a toll on me. I'm getting older. Down there we have some hazels I started, another persimmon tree, a plum tree. Of course, you all familiar with the mulberry trees. There's another persimmon tree, apple tree. And I'll go up here to the grafts and show you. I pruned them back, whittled them back. Listen. And I'll show you that graft, what has happened there. Now, I don't know how much of this you can get an idea for, but I would say that there graft, it was this little stick here. It's compared to my finger, it is one finger's length. Can you see that there? Sun's shining here. 1 finger's length, and it had 2 buds. And on this bud, and this is my first time ever for doing a bark inlay, and I am really impressed. It has done remarkable, and 2 of the buds on that took off. Next year I'll use that limb for grafting wood. This one I cut more, probably 2/3 of it off, because it was too much weight, and if we get a storm, it'll break it out. I did have it splinted for a while. And then over here we have another one, which is a You can probably see there the V. It's just a split, and oops, it didn't focus there. Well, there it is. Hopefully that'll come into focus. But anyhow, that was just a little stick. It's well, a little longer than my finger, because up here is the piece of wood from here to here, and you can see that it was about 5 inches long. And of course, 2 buds came off of that one too. And this graft is Silk Road, and the other one is Illinois Everbearing, and it had already set fruit. I picked it off, and these 2 I have cut back also by better than half, so they don't break down. This year was a remarkable year for grafting. Another thing besides planting your turnips right now, you're coming into the time when you want to start checking your bark for slip, and that means cut a slit in the bark, and if it comes loose from now until the end of August is a good time to do bud grafting. And if the bark don't start to slip because it's too dry, it won't slip. You'll want to run your hose on it or pour buckets of water on it for a couple of days so that the water starts to get taken up, so the bark will free itself, get moisture underneath it, and you can do your bud grafting. And this is the time of year when you want to start to do that. Okay, thanks for watching. May the Lord bless.